Hello, and welcome to another edition of What Does the Giraffe Say Media with me, Kathleen Retourne. We're an organisation that aims to connect people in conservation and animal welfare by holding live interviews on social media. Today, I'm very happy to be joined by Sam Hutchinson, who is the founder of Power of One. Before we get into our conversation, I'm just going to show a very quick video which gives you a little bit of insight into what she does. Bear with me, I need to bring the video in.
I think when you see these images on, when you're at home on your computer, it's hard to look at them, but you look at them and then you close your laptop and then you go and make yourself a cup of tea and, your life carries on. And I think here, they live and breathe this every day, and there is no shutting a laptop. It's there 24/7, every hour of every day, having to choose which ones to save, which ones you have to turn away. I can't imagine being in a position where you're making that choice. And I think the idea that we can, every penny that we've already given, I've seen the good that it's done, and it reinforces that you've done the right thing. Coming here was the right thing to do.
If you don't exist, where does she go?
She would have died on the street. Many of them, this happens, especially in summer. In general, 60% of the dogs we take in were hit by cars.
60%?
60% of them, yes. Cars are the enemies for dogs because not everyone takes care or even cares that there is a dog crossing.
Say that it was a mistake. Turn around and pick me off the ground. Even when you break my heart, I'll always be your friend. Waiting for you in the dark. I'll
I mean, Sam, that's pretty powerful stuff. I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to not cry while I watch it, and I had goosebumps while I'm watching it. There's incredible work that you guys are doing. So before we kind of go into a bit more detail about the individual projects and some of the amazing stuff that you've actually managed to achieve in what is relatively short amount of time, can you talk to us a little bit about yourself and what was it that inspired you to begin the Power of One?
So my background is that I have been a city lawyer for the best part of 2 decades now. I'm in my office right now. And animal welfare has always been a passion of mine. And I guess like a lot of people who are in my position, sort of from around about 2015 onwards, I was in a pretty lucky position to be able to give meaningful sums to larger groups that I was aware of through social media, through advertisements on the TV, give meaningful amounts of money to these organisations. But what was never clear to me was what I was giving to. So you'd sort of give a large chunk, and then you maybe get a newsletter, once a quarter if you were lucky. And it was around about that time that really the inspiration for Power of One I met a lady called Laura Myatt, who remains a very, very good friend of mine. And I followed her on social media, and she runs a group called Sadie Stray Rescue in Romania. And what was very clear is an individual, a lady, was single-handedly going out onto the streets, rescuing, scraping the dogs off of the streets, rehoming those dogs, rehabilitating those dogs, trying to educate her local community around the importance of treating animals well. And she'd do that from first thing in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, through till 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then she'd be on social media asking for pounds. I mean, literally, she did a £1 Thursday. And I was just so inspired by what she was doing, and felt that this is a woman that I really, really need to support. And so I reached out to her and said, look, I'd really love to get behind you. What can I do to help? I want to actually, give you a meaningful amount of money. And so we built a socialization area for dogs to improve their rehoming prospects. Pretty quickly after that, I met a similar lady called Carol Holbrook, who runs Animal Friends of Turkey, and discovered that this woman was doing exactly the same thing, risking her livelihood, occasionally risking her life, as many of these women do, in order to serve their communities and to improve animal welfare standards for dogs on the street. And had a similar conversation with her and said, look, what can I do to really, really help? And at that point, I think the rules were changing in Turkey such that she needed to be able to have a domestically bought mode of transport for transporting the dogs. So we bought a van for her. And really things spiraled after that. And what became really obvious to me very, very quickly was the scale of the problem. And I think, unlike the organisations that I've been supporting prior to meeting Laura, who are very visible, they're very public, who do wonderful things. I'm not saying they don't do wonderful things, but these very, very small teams, even individuals, have no profile. And you really have to be involved, I think, in the animal welfare community very tightly to even know that they exist and what they are doing. But what they are doing is so important. And it quickly became apparent to me that the scale of this was huge, and the service they were performing for the local communities on an unsung basis, when we're risking their lives day after day, risking their livelihoods, was something that I felt I really, really needed to bring to the attention of the industry that I work in. And that's why I mentioned at the beginning what my job is. So I work in an area of finance that effectively involves advising financial institutions on investing tens of billions every year in funds. And so my background is knowing what you need to be able to show investors to attract capital. And the thinking behind Power of One was, what if we brought that business way of thinking to these women on the ground who desperately needed our help? And so Power of One was launched in April of last year, and I was so humbled to see hundreds of my clients there who were able to hear stories of the women that we invited from all over the world, and understand the scale of the problem. And so we've really sort of formally only been in existence for around 12 months, and we've achieved a huge amount since then. Our issue now is capacity, because we have so many small teams coming to us asking for our help. And my job now is to scale this. And I've got a lot of really exciting discussions that I'm involved with very large donors who I think really see the potential of what we're doing. What I want to do is present this to them as an investment case. Many of you might have heard of ESG, which we're also heavily involved with as a legal and finance industry. And I want to be able to show as many people as possible, get as many eyes on this as possible, say this is what these women are doing all over the world, and they deserve your support.
I mean, you mentioned in there a lot, and actually maybe I should have brought that in at the start, but you do have a very strong focus on supporting women who are doing this work. What is the reason behind that?
I think as a woman in the finance industry for the last 20 years, it's a very, very male-dominated society. And I, as I'm sure you know, and I spend a lot of my time within my business world working and mentoring women in the industry and talking about my experiences as a woman in this industry in order to encourage better female representation within my industry. And the fact that most, not all, but most of the groups and small teams that reach out to us are led by women, I feel that we are not only helping an animal welfare cause, but actually as important is these women, many of whom are in communities where they are not treated equally, need our support. And I think what we want to be able to do is what we've achieved in the business world, which is bring these women together and give them the business skills to be able to support their causes themselves. So what Power of One wants to do is, we of course provide emergency lifelines, but what we really want to do is invest in the infrastructure, invest in transport, give them the means to be able to get beyond having to spend nights worrying about where the next pound is going to come from. We want to be able to remove that from them and say, look, now what we want you to do is do what you really want to do, make that difference. I'm sorry, my light's gone off because I'm not moving around, so I'm just going to act like a bit of an idiot.
That's okay.
Is give you the infrastructure, give you the tools to be able to escape the constant stress of the financial pressures of keeping your groups going. And the fact that we are helping women in that cause, it is not only very dear to my heart, but actually from our donors' perspective, from our investors' perspective, it's very, very important to them. And that's why with our campaigns, as you will have seen from that snippet of the documentary that we're hoping to release later on in the year, what we try to do with our campaigns is share the women's stories. I'm super passionate about animals, as you know, as a lot of people are. But our donors are as interested in these women's stories, which are so, so powerful, as they are in the animals that are involved in their world. And to being able to tell their stories and share their stories means that we not only provide emergency funding, but we can actually bring together, these investors and these women in these communities.
And I think it's absolutely fantastic work that you guys are doing. And as I say, from such a short amount of time, the impact that you've had has been huge. And you kind of touched it on a little bit when we were talking at the start. And you mentioned that there's so many organizations out there that don't get that publicity, don't have that awareness. How on earth do you decide who gets your support?
It's look, I work a 16-hour day normally. I also have 14 dogs of my own, so I've taken on rescues from lots of the teams that I support, as well as having 2 kids. So I wake up every day disappointed with myself that I haven't done more. I can certainly tell you that I'm my biggest critic. But we have to look. Our funds aren't endless at this point in time. They're not unlimited, and so what we try and focus on is 4 key areas. One is we want to make the biggest social impact we can. And that doesn't mean you have to be a group that has 2,000 dogs. Hanan from Animal Protection Foundation has 2,000 dogs, but that's not a criteria for us. You can be very, very small. So there is a couple that we support who have of their own backs done a carried out spay and neuter initiative in their own village. And we're talking about tens rather than hundreds or thousands of dogs. But they are really using the funds that we provide to get them to create the biggest social impact. So that's what we're looking at, making sure our money goes as far as possible. We want people who reach out to us to work with us on the campaign. That's really important. And we know it's really difficult because these women are, their days are so busy. But in order to be able to attract investor money, we have to be able to share that story. We have to be able to tell the story. So we have to ask people to work with us within the confines of the time that they have to be able to share their story. Transparency is really important to us. One of the differentiators, I think, between us and perhaps some of the larger organizations is every single penny we raise gets put to the teams that we support. I put in over $500,000 of my own money. And I often invest more than 50% of the campaigns that we run. I put my money where my mouth is, but I want investors to see with every campaign, this is where we are, this is what you have done. And the campaigns and the partnerships that have gone really, really well are where we are in contact with that group and they reach out to us and say, look, here's the update, here's what happened. Our investors and our donors absolutely love to see that. We want to see really, really strong ties to the community. So, in terms of spay and neuter programs, in terms of, is there anything more we can do on the education front? Because you must come across this all the time, but you often feel like you are literally just, putting out fires all the time. And actually it's the things that you invest in that perhaps aren't so exciting or traumatic to see, like the spay and neuter programs, like the making more kennels, that are so important to get to the underlying roots of these problems, and they cost the most money, but that's what we really want to try and get to the root of. So you don't have to be a registered charity. Numbers don't really matter. We want to see track record, because we have to be able to demonstrate that we've diligenced, and we can see the fundraising that's gone on before we were involved. Transparency is really key. We want to be able to come and see you. Hanan Deebs, you've seen the documentary that we did there of her. We've invested a lot in Hanan because we think she's just one of the most inspirational women that I've ever met, and I think the world needs to see Hanan and see what she does every day. So we want to have that ability to come see you and come see how the project is going and how we can do more. So those are the things that we are looking for. And just I apologize every day that we can't service and deal with the amount of people that are coming asking for our help, but I am working really, really hard to make some really, really interesting and special arrangements with some large investors at the moment. So that's my job at the moment.
I mean, you have absolutely no need to apologize, Sam. You do so much, and as I say, you've achieved so much already. So I think just keep on doing what you're doing, because it's working. You've touched on a couple of the projects that you've been working alongside there as we were talking. I'd love to go a little bit deeper into some of those. So, for example, you were mentioning just now about the Animal Protection Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about what they're doing and how you've been able to support them?
Absolutely. So the foundation is led by a single woman, Hanan Deebs, who I've known for many, many years. And I came across her on Facebook, actually. And Hanan is one of the great things, I think, or one of the things that works really, really well with many of the women who we work with, is they're great storytellers and they involve you in their journey. And Hanan would put the most distressing videos out, but you'd follow her journey. So she would find, dogs that had been chucked off of balconies. She'd be put in physical danger by trying to get in between, the owner or the person that was carrying out the horrendous behavior and the dog. And she was also going around local communities and trying to reach agreements with local municipalities whereby they would agree not to poison or kill the dog as long as she would agree to feed it and tag it and spay and neuter it. She was carrying out spay and neuter campaign. She has a sanctuary in Cairo with 2,000 plus dogs. Over half of them are disabled. That was pretty hard to see when we went over and we filmed the documentary, and watching the beginning of this and the video, it still really, really hits you, because it's just very different being there than watching it on the TV. And so I sort of reached out to her and said, look, I'm following your work. Can I help? And so we started to give a little bit, and then I saw the updates, and then you get the transparency. Then you see, actually, this is really going where it is. Can I come out and visit you? Absolutely open to that. And then I think there was a point at which she reached an emergency funding need where she literally had nothing but bread to give the dogs the next day. And that was utterly heartbreaking. So, I gave her, a significant amount of money to make sure that she was able to carry on. But then since then, the relationship has really grown. So now we've invested in further kennels. We've built, I think, 9 kennels over there. We are looking next time we go over, which will be very soon this year, to build a better water system with her. We've built 35 rooms. This is some of the pictures here, 35 rooms with solid floors to separate those dogs with mange. That was another priority for her. She's a wonderful woman that we will continue working with, and I really hope that the documentary should be available by the end of this year. I want to say a massive thank you to Daniel Johnson as well, who was so kind as to come on board Power of One and join us in Cairo for the documentary that we created. Yeah, she's an incredible lady.
So the work that she's doing, I mean, is absolutely incredible. Why is there this attitude towards the street dogs, and kind of how can we shift the narrative with this?
Many of the women we deal with live in emerging markets where, forget about the dogs, the women are not treated very well. I mean, Hanan has been subjected to physical abuse, mental abuse. She's had poison chucked over her walls of her sanctuary. She's been, harassed in the street for what she does. And yet this powerful, strong woman whose life mission it is to save animals, which are even lower down the pecking order than she is nonetheless going out into these local communities and talking to children and Egyptian people around trying to make them more aware of animals as sentient beings. What you saw in the documentary there was what it was like in the sanctuary, but we actually spent a lot of time on the streets in Cairo, and we visited one of the areas which was a safe place for Hanan and a pack of dogs. And actually what she's done is terrific, because a lot of the time the local community's response to street dog problems is to terminate them, whether it's by poisoning, whether it's by live burials, which we've come across. What Hanan has beautifully made the point around is, you do that, another pack will come in. You are not getting rid of the problem here, because this pack will simply be replaced. So let us feed, let us tag, let us spay and neuter. And during the filming, we had lots of local people come around and wanted to understand why there was a big film crew there. And you saw Hanan speak to local people who she'd already started to get on board. It's a very, very small steps. And she's one woman, That's why we're so invested in getting behind and giving financial support, is that one woman, this is what the Power Fund is about. It's one person and the difference one person can make in overturning perceptions around women. We want people to see her as an investment, not just as a woman who's out there on the streets, but as an investment performing this incredible service to her local community, and for her peers and for men in society to see what she is doing as well.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic, the stuff that she's doing. It, and as you say, it's not easy. She's putting herself in danger for something that she cares very passionately about. So
Exactly.
utter respect for her. You mentioned in your when we were talking right at the start about Sadie's Strays, I think you said this was the one that inspired you to start Power of One. Can you tell us a little bit about this project and why it's so inspirational?
I mean, I think it was Laura was my first interface with the animal rescue community. Not the rescue community, that is the large organisations, but actually, the people on the streets who are on the ground, who are doing the fundraising, who are doing the education piece, who are doing the rescuing, who are scraping the dogs off the street, who are caring for the injured dogs, who are rehabilitating, who are rehoming. And I was just inspired by the journey that she let you travel on with her, and her gratitude for every single penny that she received, no matter how small the donation was. Every single person she updated and she thanked. And Laura was born in Hertfordshire, and she left her life behind in Hertfordshire. She went to volunteer with Sadie's and then ended up staying there, and to this day still runs Sadie's, and she'd given up every comfort that we have for this cause, and that was a massive eye-opener for me, that someone would give up. I thought I was doing a reasonable amount, and I saw Laura's like, you're doing absolutely nothing. If she can do this, you can bloody well help. Forgive my language. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have sworn that, but you can do more, Sam. You think you're doing late nights in the office? No, that's nothing compared to what these women are doing.
And there was another project that you got involved in Thailand. How did you hear about this one, and what was it that resonated with you for this one?
So again, it was so Jai Dogs is an incredible organisation that works with unsung heroes, as they describe them, who are individuals unsupported other than through public donations that they look to assist them with. To assist street dogs in Thailand. And so they reached out, a wonderful couple of ladies who reached out and said, look, there's a lady that we are working with, Niang, and we have a project, and we wondered if you'd be interested in supporting her. So Niang is 67 years old, and she rides 40 kilometers every day, delivering food to street dogs, up to 120 street dogs per day. Doesn't expect any support for this. But her bike has given up on her, and we are raising money to buy her a new bike so that she can carry on doing what she's doing, something that has some sort of shade and is able to carry large amounts of food. And I think as a story, that there she is, it really touched our hearts that a lady who was given no support other than 3 guide dogs, off of her own back, her own initiative, at the age that she was still going out and trying to help these animals, was just incredible. And so we were really, really happy to get behind this campaign. And again, the recurring theme throughout all of this, Kathleen, is the power of one, right? This is one woman out there on her bike, feeding up to 120 dogs a day. Just incredible.
And I remember when I was doing some research into this story, you said that she was also facing a lot of harassment and anger from the local residents as well. And I mean, I think is she in her late 60s, something like that, and she's still going out and putting herself there?
Yeah, 67. Yeah, unbelievable. And you're right. There is so much more to these stories. Now, I think a lot of people look at what we do, look at what you do, and think it's about the animals. It's not just about the animals. For every animal, the animal is almost a way of. It's what brings the story together, right? But behind that is this further story around the woman or men. We have worked with men in the past. There's an incredible guy that we worked with. Who it was just in the wake of the war starting in Ukraine, who decided not to flee with all of his family and actually stayed to build a makeshift shelter for animals coming through. So we were obviously more than happy to support him. But typically it is these women who are not only facing challenges of raising money, but also facing challenges within their local community just for doing what they're passionate about.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think the whole Power of One ethos is absolutely fantastic. We've got a question coming through. Bear with me while I try and get it. There's quite a few bouncing through, so I need to scroll up. So we got a question saying, how do people speak to you to see if there's any chance to help guidance from yourself to improve charities?
Email me. Email me. One of the hopes that I have in terms of what I can hopefully do is that I've got 20 years of business experience, and I'm trying to bring that into the animal rescue world. I have a very small team. I have Kate Ward, who is an incredible lady who works alongside me, and we've got various other people, great ambassadors. But I want people to reach out and talk to me, and I will, hopefully the people that I've worked with already will show that I'm really happy to absolutely want to give up my time to help in any way I can.
Well, what I'll do as well is at the end I'll put up a link to your website, so then people can see your details there, and hopefully that will help them to be able to get in contact.
And there's an email address there as well.
Perfect. Thank you. We got a question from Alison. Hello, Alison. She's a big supporter of the show and of your work. And she says, do you work with other charities such as Soy Dog Foundation in Thailand?
So I know John reasonably well. I think John has done an absolutely fantastic job. They're an absolutely wonderful organisation. I think that where we are focusing is on the less well-established groups, individuals who don't have the public presence that perhaps Soy Dog has. Not that we don't respect and think that they've absolutely done a wonderful job, but I think Soy Dog is pretty well known now. And what we're trying to do is create a platform for individuals, very small teams, to be able to access funding. But I do know John very well, and I'll be going to the anniversary dinner later this year as well.
And I think that's it, isn't it? There's so many really small companies, organisations, one women just doing their thing, and they don't know how to maybe get their message out or create awareness or even have the contacts to even start. So that's where you really do kind of come in and help amplify these voices.
Exactly.
I mean, it must be tough because you've obviously seen a lot, but is there a rescue story in particular that stands out and resonates for you?
So there was a dog when we were filming our documentary in Cairo. There was a dog that came in who had been found with horrific injuries to one of its front legs, Cairo, And when it was taken into surgery, they realised that actually the other leg had been really badly damaged. And so they performed a double amputation. There he is. Now, the prospects for this dog were, as you would probably imagine, very, very bad. I spoke to her nan a number of times and spoke to a number of vets. Apologies, I'll just try and get my lights back on again. A number of vets in terms of what their advice would be for Cairo, because we wanted him to have a really, really good quality of life. And would that be possible with a dog that was missing both of his front legs? It was really, really heartbreaking. Then he was fostered by a local lady, and she has managed to give him the most wonderful life. We didn't know that he was going to make it, and then within a couple of months, Hanan sent me a WhatsApp and she said, "Look at this," and I saw videos of him at the seaside. I saw videos of him smiling, coming out of a bath, and then literally within the last 2 weeks, I've seen a video of him. He can make it down the stairs. So he was making it up the stairs, but he can now make it down the stairs as well. And it just goes to show you should never give up. Really never give up. That really hit me. I think in terms of the abuse that I've seen, probably one of the ones that sticks to me most was one of my own dogs, actually. So one of the dogs that I adopted from a wonderful lady called Yaprak that I work with in Turkey. Again, a lone female. She had a dog called Destan who was found in the forest. He'd been left for dead in the forest. He'd been shot over 20 times and he'd been deliberately run over. And we thought that probably both of his back legs would need to be amputated. Very, very slim chance of being rehomed. So actually he's a Kangal breed. There was also another Kangal that he ended up spending his time with, Layla, who had her front leg missing. And so I said, look, I'll take them both. Please, just can you find somewhere for them to be fostered? And so it took a while for them to come over to me, but they came over to me in, I think, June of last year. You just would not, I mean, this is what just, it just gets me all the time, is the amount of suffering and cruelty that he experienced at such a young age. He was 2 when he came over. You would not tell. He's the happiest. He runs up and down my farm. I live on I bought a farm so I could have more dogs. And so every night he runs up and down the fence. He loves watching the foxes. He's the most loving, beautiful temperament, never cross with any of the other dogs. He's just forgotten. I haven't, but he has.
And is this a dog that was the inspiration for your logo?
No, that's Warrior. That's another Kangal who also is disabled. Yeah, so Warrior, again, another rescue. There he is, rescue dog from Turkey. So again, what I try to do is to take the dogs that are very unlikely to be rehomed. Most of my rescues are disabled. So he was found on the streets of Turkey. Celine London actually reached out, and I saw this pitch and I was like, oh my God, I have to be able to do something. I've got the land, I've got, the ability to spend whatever is necessary on his vet fees. So he came over, he had cancer at 4 months, had his leg amputated. He's a very big dog. So he needs a lot of ongoing medical care. So he has aquatherapy, he has massage therapy. He's called Warrior. And I just thought he embodied everything that mattered to me in terms of animal rescue on the dog side. So yeah, he's the face of our charity. I have a bag with his face on it. I was going to bring it up, but I'll leave it. Yes, that's him. Yeah.
You're as bad as me. I'm the same with the cats. I've somehow ended up with 1 million cats. Moving on. Some of the stuff, yes, as you said, the dog has recovered. You still remember the story. You still know what that poor animal has been through, and that goes for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of animals and dogs and street dogs and whatever around the world. How on earth do you keep yourself up and buoyant and motivated and not get too just caught in the despair? Because sometimes it can get to you and you just think it's just a never-ending cycle. So how do you keep yourself going?
I know I can make a difference, and I can't afford to sit there and, get upset about it. I look at it and it inspires me. It's that I have to do something about this. When there's nothing I can do, sometimes you'll see those, snippets on Facebook and, dogs in this horrendous condition. And you're like, what do I do? Where is it? Can I send this person? Can I send that person? That's hard because I just want to do something. But if I can do something, and I know a lot of the times I can, then that just pushes me. And outside of what we do, we have some incredible ambassadors as well who keep us motivated and keep us just really believing that people believe in what we do. So we partnered with an institution called the MAC, Michael Faulkner, who I met some time ago, who has created a gym to provide especially underprivileged children with a safe place to come and learn a martial art effectively. So we partnered together. And so I invested into some equipment for the gym, and he shouts from the rooftops around what it is that we're doing. Every post, he will copy us. And when you see that someone really believes in what you're doing, it gives you that, right, okay, so we're going to carry on here. I have to mention Jack McGann, who I don't know whether you've heard of him. You will do if you haven't very soon, but he is a boxer that we started working with a year ago. Saw this incredible sports person in this very male-dominated, until fairly recently, sport, and thought he's going to be really special. I will do anything to get the voices of these women out there. And if it takes a boxer who I think is going to go really, really big to partner with him, that's what I'm going to do. And within a year, he has surpassed everyone's expectations. And again, every opportunity he gets with his demographic as well, different demographic, he will shout about women's rights and animal welfare. Daniel Johnson mentioned Dominic Dyer is just an incredible supporter of what we are doing. I'm going to say one last thing, sorry, and I'll stop. But Raksu, actually, the sound to the documentary you heard before was written for us by Raksu, who were on the X Factor. They won the X Factor many years ago. One of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard, and I hired them for an event that I was hosting, and didn't hear anything from them. Sent them all the Power of One video reels, etc. Didn't hear anything from them. 2 weeks later, they sent me the song and said, "We were so touched by what we heard that we've written this song for you. You will hear this. It will be released later this year. The most beautiful song I've ever heard. So fitting for animal rescue." There's so many people like that who are behind us, and I'm sure there's loads of others that I've forgotten, but they keep us going.
I always think as well, because in the same working in conservation, sometimes I have to kind of switch off and watch some cat videos or something just to try and get my mind on something else. But having people, I actually find there's more decent people than bad people, and most people want to do something nice. So that I think is a huge inspiration as well. Okay, we're coming towards the end of our session. We got a question coming through from Alison, which actually echoes my final question, so it works out perfectly. And she's asking, what can we do to help?
Share, please share. Give if you can. Times are really hard, and we absolutely know that. My focus is on working with larger investors who we can hopefully use to rely on that fundraising. But every penny that everybody gives goes straight to all of these causes that we are supporting. Every pound makes a huge difference. So if you can afford to donate, that would be wonderful. If you can't, please share, please follow us. Let's get as many eyes on these women and these causes as possible.
And are there options as well for people to volunteer for you and offer their time if they maybe don't have the money, but they might have some skills in different things that could potentially help?
Well, look, we are a very, very young organisation, and we have a very, very small team. Every bit of the organisation is funded by me personally. So, as I said, every penny we raise is passed straight through to all of these causes. But we'd love to hear from anyone who has any ideas. I don't think there's a right or wrong way of doing this. I think as long as your heart is in the right place, then we welcome you. We haven't been doing this for years. I know how to run a business, but there are loads of other skills that that we don't have that would be super useful here. So we'd love to hear from anyone that would love to be involved.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sam. Okay, so we're going to wrap up now. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We've had some really lovely comments as we've been talking. Lots of support for you, Sam, cheering you on. Always lots of people saying what wonderful, wonderful work you're doing. Is there anything you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
Just a massive thank you for having us on, Kathleen. We are still very young, and so any opportunity we get to be on, shows like this is tremendous. And thank you for giving us that opportunity. And thank you for all of our ambassadors, all of the support everyone has given us. I really do think we can make a big difference together. We can make a big difference, and there are so many people who believe that as well, that it keeps us going every single day. So thank you so much.
I couldn't agree more. And what a lovely note to end it on. Thank you so much for Sam for coming on. And again, thank you everyone for joining and for all your support. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.